Okay, let's talk about UniFi Protect. UniFi Protect is Ubiquiti Network's latest surveillance software. It doesn't replace UniFi Video, but rather it's being maintained as a separate product entirely. And we're going to talk about Protect versus UniFi Video later in this video. You can get Protect today as part of the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus, which retails for $199 USD. Protect comes pre-installed alongside the UniFi SDN, which can be used for controlling the rest of your network equipment, such as your switches and access points. The Cloud Key Gen2 Plus features a 2 GHz octa-core processor, 3 gigs of RAM, and a 1 TB hard drive used for storing recordings from the various Ubiquiti cameras. The included 1 TB hard drive can also be upgraded for up to 5 TB of total storage space for your recordings. One question that I see quite often is whether or not you can only use Ubiquiti cameras with UniFi Protect, and the answer to that is yes. This system only works with Ubiquiti cameras. Now you can check out my past videos if you'd like to see a more in-depth look at the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus installation and setup, or if you'd like to see a tutorial on upgrading the hard drive. So how many cameras will the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus support? Ubiquiti states that they recommend a maximum of 20 cameras or up to 15 cameras if you're also running the UniFi SDN. However, in my opinion, I wouldn't put more than a half dozen cameras or so on this system, because even if it can technically handle more cameras than that, when you get up to the 10, 15, 20 camera range or higher, the lack of redundancy in the hard drive means that you really should be looking for a more solid solution than what this device can provide. With larger number of cameras, you're also going to start running into drive space limitations. Ubiquiti claims that the included 1 TB hard drive can store up to 1,600 hours of footage, though they really don't go into much detail about how they came up with that number, what quality, what frame rate, etc. So we're going to be taking a closer look at the storage capacity needed per camera a little bit later in this video. For now though, let's take a look at Protect itself. Here we have the main dashboard where we can see my different cameras, and if I click on any one of these cameras, that camera's properties opens up from a tray in the right-hand side of the interface. In the camera settings tray, you can see all of the properties of the camera, and if you click on the camera's view itself, we can change a number of the camera's display properties, including the orientation, the hue, saturation, brightness, and all of the other settings that help you dial in the picture to your liking. Now, if you click on General, you can turn the LED of the camera on and off, and depending on the model of the camera, there may be some other settings. So for instance, here with my G3 camera, I can turn on or off the IR extender. Below these settings, we have options for the on-screen display of each camera. Now, I personally like to set on-screen display and timestamp overlay to enabled. This displays the name of the camera as well as the date and time of the recording. However, you can optionally choose to enable the Ubiquiti logo or live information about the adaptive bitrate. Down towards the bottom, you're going to see settings for the frames per second as well as the maximum bitrate. By default, all cameras are set to 15 frames per second with a bitrate of 3000 kbps or 3 megabits per second. Now, bitrate is the camera's data rate measured in kilobits per second. So if we crank the maximum bitrate to 6000, this represents 6 megabits per second. Keep in mind, though, that the cameras are variable bitrate, which means that if the image is relatively static, the bitrate is automatically adjusted lower than when there's a lot of action on the screen. This is one of the ways that Ubiquiti saves space on the hard drive. Notice, however, though, there's a big difference between UniFi Protect and UniFi Video, and that is that there aren't any settings in Protect for motion recording versus full-time recording. Cameras on Protect are always recording, and you don't have the option to set them to motion only. In UniFi Video, we would usually default to motion-only recordings to save as much drive space as possible. But given the target market for Protect, this may actually not be a problem, and we'll talk more about drive space and who this product is designed for later on in the video. Now, when I click on Manage, we have some more camera options such as the ability to enable RTSP streams, and enabling RTSP basically gives you the ability to connect to the live picture of the camera from other devices and NVRs in various different qualities. Now, I haven't done a ton of playing around with the RTSP stream on these cameras, but from what I've seen so far, it's a little bit hit and miss as far as how well it works. I'm sure it also depends on the third-party devices that are receiving the stream. The final tab is zones, and this is where you can set your motion and privacy zones per camera. So for instance, if I click on my deck camera here, this is the UVC Micro, and then I click on zones and I do add motion zone, you can see that I've already added one motion zone. Now basically what all you have to do is, move these little move this area around to where you want to actually detect the motion. In my case, I just want to see anyone that's walking across the deck here. But like if you look at these trees in the background, I don't necessarily want those trees, in the motion detection, because when it's windy outside, those trees are, blowing back and forth in the wind, and it's going to trigger the motion detection constantly. So I kind of just want to grab as much of this as possible. Like if someone's coming up to my front door, they're going to come around this corner and then walk right through this path here. You can also create multiple motion zones if, for instance, you wanted to detect motion on, two different sides of the camera, but leave the center part with no motion detection. We also have settings for privacy zones. Now this is a new feature in Protect that doesn't exist in UniFi Video. Privacy zones allow you to black out sections of your camera feed. It's basically like a live redaction of your cameras. I mean, this can be used in cases where you may want to record a part of your camera's view and detect motion in a part of your camera's view, but you don't want to capture everything that's on screen. So for instance, if we click on zones and then privacy zones for my G3 dome camera that I have here in my office hanging right above my head here, you can see here that I have blacked out this section where I sit, right? The reason being is that here's the side door to my office. If anyone walks in this door or breaks through either of these windows here, I want to be able to catch them, with motion, right? I want to be able to see that. But I don't need to be recording my computer screen and me sitting here all day, in my office, right? I don't need to see it. There's also some areas, like I think in the UK, if you have a camera up on the outside of your house, you're not supposed to record your neighbor's house at all, or your neighbor's yard. So there's some regulations and stuff that may be in place. Obviously check your own local area for anything like that. But it would give you the ability to say, have a camera on the side of your house that's only capturing your part of the property and the neighbor's property is blacked out. The next setting in the upper left-hand corner menu is Live View, and the Live View setting is used for viewing multiple cameras simultaneously. You can put this view into full screen by clicking this little square icon right here if you're going to have it up on a monitor or a TV where people are going to be monitoring it all day. You can edit your current view or add new views that allow you to arrange all of your cameras into different configurations. So for instance, if I say add view, I can do a 6 camera view or a 7, 9, all the way up to 26 camera view that's sort of pre-configured in these different formats. So let's go ahead and do a 7 camera view, and then you just drag and drop which cameras you want right onto the view and save that. Now you can create as many different views either globally or on a per user basis. One feature that would be nice here would be the ability to automatically cycle between multiple views. So if, for instance, you had 8 cameras total, you could set up 2 separate 4 camera views and have the system toggle between those views every X number of seconds. So like, here's 4 cameras, and then 10 seconds later, I want to display the next 4 cameras. And then in another 10 seconds, I want to go back to the original 4 cameras and then just sort of cycle that. That would be kind of nice. If we click on events, we can see a summary of all of Protect's motion events, and we can filter on the camera. So we could say all cameras, or just, just my dome camera, or just my, front door camera. And you could filter on either the camera or the date. Now for the date, you can filter on a specific date range, or you can use some of these date shortcuts such as yesterday, last week, last month, etc. Clicking on any of the motion events also plays that video file. So for instance, here's one of my dogs going out to use the restroom. That also gives you the option of downloading the recording if you click the download button. Now it would be nice if you could multi-select and then download multiple event files. So if I could just select multiple, items in the events window and then download them as a zip file or something. But as it stands today, you actually have to individually click on each of the motion events to get that download option. That being said though, there is a similar function in the time-lapse menu, and we're going to get to that next. So the playback of these motion events is really, really snappy. They load quickly, and you can scrub through them pretty easily. So here's one of a delivery I got, right? So this guy was coming, I can just easily scrub through. It actually works very well, very little lag. And you could see the delivery guy come up and go away. And of course, this triggered an alert on my phone as well. We'll talk about alerts in just a bit. So the last item in the upper left-hand menu is the time lapse. Now this allows you to scrub through all footage from an individual camera and then click on the motion events in a timeline. So here we can see this is the live view. And then down here, we've got our various motion events. So let's switch to a more interesting camera here, such as my G3 that I have up in the front yard. So we can see events such as where it lost connection, and if I just scroll through here, we should see some other events as well. Now if I click on a particular event, here you can see that it just automatically plays. Now you can scrub through the timeline, and it actually works pretty well. You can also use the download clip button to select a start and end time if you wanted to download, say, like a 10-minute clip that covered multiple motion events. I have to say though that the feature needs a bit of work. It's a little clunky. It would be nice also if they added the option to enter in a very specific date and time to download, or perhaps even just a start time. So I want to start recording, May 5th from 10 a.m. until, for 15 minutes of duration or something like that. That would be really nice if you could, if they had that option as well. But for now, you can just click the download clip, and then you can, change these start and finish brackets or start and finish lines here to cover the actual motion events that you want to grab. So we can see here that if I did this, I'd be grabbing 5 minutes and 36 seconds worth of total footage. In the lower left-hand corner here, we have the users and general settings. Now the users section gives us the ability to add new users either by email address, where they're emailed a link to set up their own password, or we can optionally just create specific usernames and passwords. One feature that's missing here, or at least I wasn't able to find it, is the ability to add new groups or roles. So at this point, every additional user that you add is an administrator. And there currently aren't any options for creating like view-only users like you can in UniFi Video. They do display a roles column here, so I suspect that we're going to see that functionality in the future. It'd be nice to be able to just give someone access to view the cameras, but not give them administrative rights to the server at all. Now, if we click on settings, the settings for Protect are actually pretty bland. They don't give you a ton of options to configure here. This kind of seems to go along with the mindset of controlling the entire experience as much as possible versus UniFi Video, which gave you a lot more flexibility. Now, in the general settings, we do have the option to set up time-based purging. Right? So if, for instance, you only wanted to keep 10 days of footage or were required to only keep a certain amount of footage, any older footage would be purged out. So if you leave this setting off, it's just going to keep recording until the hard drive is full, at which point it will just start purging out the oldest recordings. Now there are other settings in here that allow you to enable or disable cloud access. You can set up automatic backups. You can set up automatic updates if you want. And then we have the alert rule. So the alerting system is actually pretty nice, though once again, it could very easily be made a lot better. So on a per camera basis, you have to choose to receive motion alerts either by email, and the email templates actually look pretty nice, or you can have motion alerts pushed to your smartphone device. So here we have just the system in general. And so what I have it set up to do is if we connect or disconnect the Gen 2 Plus, I want to see an email and a push alert about that. And then the same thing if any of my cameras are connected or disconnected. I want both an email and a push alert. So basically, like if someone came up and just took a camera or unplugged it, I want an alert to say, hey, such and such camera was disconnected. Now, for the motion though, I have it toned down quite a bit. So I have my front porch camera set to push to my smartphone upon motion detection, and I have this dome camera above me set to push on motion detection. And the reason is, the reason I don't have my G3 out in the front yard set to push on motion detection or email on motion detection is because when it rains, it's constantly pushing alerts for any sort of rain event. So every 5 minutes or so, you get a new alert. So if it's raining for 2 hours, every 5 minutes for those 2 hours, you're going to get an alert that there was motion detected. It doesn't have the ability to distinguish, whether it's raining or not, unfortunately. So I just turned that off for the UVC G3 that's out in my front yard because, again, I'll catch motion on the other cameras and then I still have that footage recorded If I need to go back and look through it, it still does motion events and everything. It's just not actually alerting upon those motion events. One setting that Ubiquiti should add very quickly to this, hint, hint Ubiquiti, is the ability to schedule these alerts. So let's say I have a camera pointed at my cash register in, a small business. During business hours, people come in and out, they make their transactions, and then they leave. I don't need to be notified every few minutes of that motion activity. However, after business hours, when the store is closed and the doors are locked, then I absolutely want to know immediately if the camera detects motion. So how about a simple scheduler here that allows for notification only during certain times of the day or days of the week? So for instance, notify me of any motion on this particular camera Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. and then all day Saturday and Sunday or something like that. So UniFi Protect also has a mobile app for iOS or Android that basically gives you all of the same features and settings that you get in the browser version. And if you're cloud connected to Ubiquiti, you don't even need to open any ports in your firewall. Protect makes a tunnel out to Ubiquiti's cloud and then facilitates the connection between the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus and your mobile device. I'm probably going to end up doing a video dedicated to the Protect mobile app in the future, but I do have to say that I'm really impressed with how smoothly you can scrub through your recordings on a mobile device. I recently went on vacation and I used it a lot, and even over LTE, I never had much issue with the playback or fast scrolling or fast scrubbing through the footage. It's easily one of my favorite things about Protect. They did a really nice job on the mobile app. So now let's talk about Protect versus UniFi Video. And keep in mind that I do not have any sort of inside scoop with Ubiquiti. This is just my own speculation and educated guess as I look into my crystal ball and try to figure out what's going to happen in the future. So first question, is Protect a UniFi Video replacement? And as far as I'm concerned, the answer to that is not yet. And the reason I say not yet is because they really can't be compared to each other directly. UniFi Video is capable of being self-installed, which means you can scale the server that you're using equal to the number of cameras that you want to install. The CPU, the RAM, the hard drive space, and redundancy, all of these things are customizable with UniFi Video. And while you can almost directly compare the older UniFi NVR to Protect running on the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus, that's basically all you can compare of these two products. Beyond the Cloud Key hardware, there is only UniFi Video. Now, Protect on the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus states a recommended maximum of 20 cameras or 15 cameras if you're also using the UniFi SDN. I have not tested Protect with more than 4 cameras, so I can't tell you what the user experience is like if you did put 20 cameras on Protect. I mean, is it going to bog down? Are you going to start to have streaming issues? I have no idea, but I do suspect that there's going to be some sort of performance hit at the upper end of that number. Additionally, even if you upgrade the hard drive to 5 terabytes, there's no option for redundancy. And if I'm looking to install a 15 or 20 camera surveillance system, that's no joke. If you have a need for 20 cameras or more, you need some real enterprise server features. And that means redundant power supplies and redundant hard drives at a minimum. Now, will Protect eventually be available on larger end servers? I suspect so. According to the Protect FAQ, UniFi Protect is currently only available on the UniFi Cloud Key Gen2 Plus. Support for the UniFi Application Server XG and the UVC NVR/UVC NVR 2 terabyte are being evaluated for future release. So basically no promises there, but maybe the UniFi Application Server will have Protect eventually, and also for those of you who have the UniFi Video NVR, you might be able to upgrade to Protect in the future. Now, if I had to speculate here, I would guess that they will focus on the UniFi XG application server next, since it does seem prime for Protect. It comes with redundant hard drive capability, so we're starting to move towards a more enterprise product, though it doesn't have redundant power. Which would be fine, honestly, for a server with 20 cameras, but what if now you wanted 50 cameras? I mean, I have sold multiple UniFi Video systems with more than 50 cameras in the past year. You need a lot of storage space for that. More storage space than can be crammed into a single RAID 1 mirrored set of SATA hard drives. So will they come out with an even bigger NVR solution than the UniFi application server? That we're just gonna have to wait and see. Since we've been talking about hard drives though, let's talk about drive space. Now, I've had 3 cameras hooked up to UniFi Protect configured at their default resolutions for just about 15 days now, and my Cloud Key hard drive is 15% full. Keep in mind that I upgraded to the 5 terabyte hard drive as well, so 3 cameras, 15 days, 15% full. Just expanding that out with some simple math, I should expect right about 100 days of history for my setup. If I doubled my cameras and had 6 cameras, I would expect about 50 days of history. Really not bad, actually. However, what about with the included 1 terabyte hard drive? My 15% utilization on a 5 terabyte hard drive would actually be approximately 75% of a 1 terabyte drive, or the default drive. So these are all just rough numbers, but you get the idea. That means that with the included default 1 terabyte hard drive, 3 cameras will get you about 20 days worth of history. And 6 cameras is going to get you about 10 or 11 days worth of history. One thing that I'll definitely give Ubiquiti credit for is that their math on the amount of storage you get is pretty accurate. Now, they claim that you get 1,600 hours of footage on the included 1 terabyte hard drive. On my system, 3 cameras running for 15 days was about 650 gigs worth of data. Now, if we divide that by 3 cameras, we get about 217 gigabytes per camera. And then if we divided that by 15 days, we get about 14.4 gigs worth of data per camera per day. And this breaks down to right around 600 megabytes per camera per hour. Now, if we then multiply 600 megabytes per hour times 1,600 hours, which is Ubiquiti's estimate, we get 960 gigabytes, or in other words, a 1 terabyte hard drive with some partitioning overhead. So again, really rough numbers, but the math basically works out. Nice job, Ubiquiti. So then where would I install Protect over UniFi Video? For me personally, I would use Protect in instances where you have no more than 5 to 6 cameras that aren't completely mission critical, such as your home or a small office if you're on a budget and you don't want to pay for any server redundancy. I mean, compared to a redundant server, the Cloud Key Gen2 Plus price is amazing at $199, but you do have to understand what you're actually getting for that money. It's not anywhere close to an enterprise solution. So as long as you're not trying to use Protect for mission critical applications, hospitals, banks, police stations, whatever, and as long as you're not using it for too many cameras, then this is absolutely a great product, but it is definitely not a UniFi Video replacement. So then, is UniFi Video going away? Well, according to Ubiquiti's FAQ page, we're committed to supporting existing UFv3 installations. The UniFi Video 3 software will continue to receive security updates, bug fixes, and support for any new G3 camera models. The UV3 software will remain available for download on our website, and the cloud service will continue to support free remote access for UFv3 installations. So, reading between the lines here, and keep in mind that this is my own speculation, it seems to me that A, Ubiquiti has committed to security updates, bug fixes, and support for new G3 camera models, but no promise of any further product development or new features. And B, they will support existing UniFi Video 3 installations with an emphasis on the 3, right? They mentioned 3, UniFi Video 3, 4 times in 3 sentences there. So likely we're never going to see a version 4 of UniFi Video. And this is where a lot of people are upset. The general feeling that I get from reading Ubiquiti's statements is that UniFi Video has most likely reached its final version and there's no replacement. Protect is locked into proprietary hardware and it is not made to be used in larger deployments. It's a different product. So I get it. I mean, I was as affected by this decision as anybody. We used to build and sell UniFi Video servers for our customers, and at the beginning of 2019, we decided to stop selling them, mostly because there wasn't a ton of profit in those servers, but also partly because of the uncertain future of UniFi Video. I mean, I don't feel comfortable putting customers onto a platform that just may not be around in 5 years. This may all sound like a bunch of doom and gloom, and because of all that stuff, I really wanted to not like Protect. I mean, I really didn't want to like it, but I actually do like Protect, especially the time lapse and scrubbing through all of your history. It just works really well. It actually works like I always wanted it to work in UniFi Video. So we understand why consumers are upset about all these changes, but let's look at this from Ubiquiti's point of view for a moment. You know that they knew these changes were going to piss people off, so then why make them? I have to believe that they have some big plans for Protect in the future. I would not be surprised to see Protect on the UniFi application server pretty quickly. I would also not be surprised to see other Protect-related hardware in the future. Because why change the name from UniFi Video to UniFi Protect? It seems like an interesting choice for a video surveillance system. I mean, video must be the more appropriate name, so why change it from UniFi Video? Except for the fact that they are likely coming out with other devices for the Protect platform. Integrated ring-type doorbell cameras, perhaps motion detectors or glass break sensors, kind of all working together to protect your home or business and notify you of issues, all with the ease of the Protect GUI and mobile app. So if that's the way that they're going, then I fully understand the choice to use proprietary hardware. If Protect is going to end up being a much more all-encompassing security suite of products, it has to be solid because people are going to be trusting this product with the safety and security of their homes and families. And it's a lot harder to ensure a quality product when you've got all of these Ubiquiti enthusiasts out there trying to install their software in the cloud and on a Raspberry Pi and DigitalOcean and Vultr and on that old PC that we got when Grandma passed away. It's just so much easier to move forward with developing Protect into something truly awesome when the hardware can be controlled. So basically, that's my thoughts on it. I'm definitely disappointed that it appears there will only be minimal effort put towards UniFi Video moving forward, but I'm also really excited to see what Ubiquiti will do with Protect. I mean, they're constantly getting me excited about new products and new ideas, and this is no different. I mean, I just want it now, or as Tom Petty put it, the waiting is the hardest part. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What are your thoughts about Protect or Protect versus UniFi Video? I hope I'm not opening a can of worms, but I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. My name's Chris of Crosstalk Solutions, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please click subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.